Good afternoon, Kitchissippi. This is the video version of the 46th Kitchissippi Newsletter. You can find the full newsletter by subscribing online at kitchissippiward.ca. It is Sunday, April the 10th. Just published a newsletter about an hour or so ago. Lots in there. I did miss a week, so we'll jump right into it. In the newsletter this week, you'll find details about the LRT Realignment meeting that is happening on April the 14th at Notre Dame High School in the evening. That'll be an open house and presentation to take a look at the realignment of the LRT in the vicinity of the Cleary station. I think most residents are aware by now that it has been proposed to run the LRT through the 747 Richmond property, which means that there will be a station right on Richmond Road. On April the 14th, we'll take a look at that in a public open house. There will be a presentation and lots of opportunities to ask questions. My office is busy these days working with the residents of 75 Cleary and 727 Richmond Road. Obviously, the realignment has had a number of new impacts for those residents. Also in the newsletter this week, 900 Albert Street. You'll find the files online now for that proposal that sees several large towers proposed for across the Bayview station. That is in Somerset Ward, right on our boundary. One of the proposals is a negotiation for the air rights over the O train. If that moves ahead, then it would be in our ward. There is a proposal on the table to put a new library over the O train there. That's something that residents have expressed a number of concerns about, and I would obviously be unhappy to see any green space taken from Tom Brown Arena. Also in the newsletter, April 14th is the final day to get your survey feedback in for the NCC's proposal on the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway Linear Park. A number of proposals made there. I think residents probably saw a lot of media around the idea to reduce the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway to just 2 lanes from Island Park through to Carling. There were a number of other proposals in that survey, though, around how to redevelop potentially the Westboro Beach programming node, as well as some thoughts on Rochester Field. Take a couple of days, get your feedback in on those proposals. Also in the newsletter, the Spencer Street rebuild has been an ongoing discussion in the ward for a few months now. I have not had a chance to put up the final decisions that have been made. I'll try to get to that this week. But essentially, the plan has been improved by removing parking and painting bicycle lanes, as well as providing a few more raised intersections to slow traffic down. I've had a number of meetings and discussions with the city staff. I want to thank my colleague, Keith Eglai, who helped us get some improvements over the original plan. While I am disappointed that it's not everything that we were looking for, turning it into much more of a shared use space or a street designed for 30 kilometers an hour, it is a big improvement over what we would normally see in a street rebuild. Also, it looks like April 23rd will be my next pop-up. We're planning on doing something that Saturday from 1 until 4, I believe. Stay tuned for details on that. Things are getting very busy at City Hall these days, and we're finding it difficult to schedule those pop-ups, but be assured we will continue with them. Also, really important, tomorrow night, April the 11th, Monday, there is an open house and public meeting on the proposal to put a John Howard Society affordable housing building on Carruthers Avenue. I've heard a lot of feedback about that, both pro and con. The meeting tomorrow night will have representatives from John Howard Society, myself, the city, to talk about what that building is and, very importantly, what it is not, as residents get their questions answered. Also in the newsletter, Rosemount Library, we continue with our consultations. I was out for about 5 hours yesterday handing out flyers. The second round of consultations on the Rosemount Library will take place next Saturday morning, and then a repeat of that consultation on Tuesday evening. Childcare is available. Take a look at the newsletter. Remember to sign up at kitchissippiward.ca for all the consultation details. Also in the newsletter this week, affordable housing. I didn't have a chance to put it in my most recent newsletter, but I have put a few thoughts up about the very positive direction in which the federal budget takes us with respect to new funding for affordable housing. A really important program, the federal and provincial investment in affordable housing sees new funds committed by the federal government. I'm hearing that that may be dependent to an extent on whether or not the province matches it, but we depend highly at the city on using that federal and provincial money to build new affordable housing units. Some really positive news in the federal budget. Take a look on the blog or in the newsletter for some more details about that. Also in the newsletter, I have also reminded people to please get your feedback in on the proposed drive-through at 70 Richmond Road. That's the corner of Island Park and Richmond. If that becomes a planning battle, we'll need lots of resident feedback. I am hearing some folks talking now about the fact that it used to be a gas station, so it makes sense to turn it into an automotive-related use again. Obviously, that is completely inappropriate, and I'll be looping residents in as we talk about the implications of a drive-through at that corner. I want to thank the heads of our community associations for a great meeting last weekend to talk about our strategy on that proposal moving forward. Also in the newsletter, Reed Park. They are going to begin some environmental testing, so you'll see some work taking place on that site as we get set to redevelop the park along the lines of the proposals that were made previously. There is a unofficial garden on that site. It looks like that may be put out of bounds until the results of that environmental testing are done. Give my office a call. My staff have reached out to some of the individuals who may be involved in that guerrilla garden. Matheny Park, finally, life cycle money is now available to redevelop Matheny Park in 2017. There is funding in the budget this year, 2016, to develop some concepts for that park. This is a much smaller scale than Reed Park, so I'm not proposing to have the same level of consultation, but we are soliciting input right now on what kind of equipment people in the area might want to see as they go about developing it. We should have a couple of concepts for Matheny Park on the table in June for the public to take a look at and comment on, but if you have some specific proposals, please get those into my office fairly soon. We'll have more details on that. Take a look at the newsletter for more. Also, Van Lang, this has been a really interesting project for my office for well over a year now, as we get that field house that was stalled back on track. Shovels went into the ground. The field house is just about done. We're looking at having a ribbon cutting on that on May 8th. I had a great meeting a week or so ago with Dovercourt, with Carlington Community Health Center, with the Westboro Beach Community Association and the Van Langs Tenants Association to talk about our first programming in that site. It looks like that building will begin to get well used this summer. Very exciting. Residents may recall as well, I had borrowed money from my colleagues, Councillors Fleury, Nussbaum and McKenney, in order to get that project off the ground again. I'm really pleased to say that of the $133,000 that I borrowed from each, I authorized just last week a payment back to them of $105,000. I've left myself some cushion in the Parks Fund, but we will be obviously soon have paid those off. The Parks Fund will begin replenishing, and I think the time is fast coming when we'll need to talk about our priorities for parks in Kitchissippi Ward. Also in the newsletter, a few notes about City Hall. It has been getting busy at council and committee. The pet store discussion that we had a couple of weeks ago at the Community and Protective Services Committee was of particular importance to me. I don't sit on that committee, but thanks to a colleague, I was able to put forward some motions. The committee did wind up supporting a motion as a compromise from Councillor Taylor. The proposal is to stop the sale of pets from commercial sources in our pet stores. There are only 3 who are still doing it. The staff recommendation was to implement a ban on sourcing pets from commercial sources, but exempting the 3 stores who are currently doing so. I had brought a motion to that committee to ask them to implement a total ban without those exemptions. That failed, but Councillor Taylor's motion to implement a across-the-board ban on that practice did pass, but it gives them 5 years to transition. We'll be dealing with that at Council on Wednesday. I'm looking at an approach to potentially bring that transition period down. 5 years seems like a very long time to many of us. Also, at City Council on Wednesday, we'll be dealing with the taxi bylaw review. Obviously, big headlines, some marathon meetings. Again, Community and Protective Services Committee. A committee I don't sit on, but I did participate fully. I wanted to hear from everybody, including the drivers, about the implications of allowing companies like Uber to operate. The committee did wind up supporting staff recommendations to partially deregulate the industry. Companies like Uber will be allowed to operate so long as their drivers have things like police checks, vehicle inspections, and the correct insurance. The taxi industry, the plated cabs, will continue to have exclusivity over any taxi cabs that are hailed on the street, that are done by telephone or done at taxi stands. I think staff have struck a good balance of ensuring that our taxi cabs continue to be viable while allowing companies like Uber to operate. Obviously, we've heard the strong feedback from Ottawa residents along those lines. That'll be finalized at our council meeting on Wednesday. Another piece that I have in the newsletter this week, safe injection sites are becoming a hot topic issue here in Ottawa. The Sandy Hill Community Health Centre is proposing to move ahead with an application to the federal government to have a safe injection site at its facilities. I am in favor, and I said so during the campaign, of safe injection sites. I think the weight of evidence is clearly on sites saving lives, mitigating health impacts from drug abuse, and also saving taxpayers money overall in the grand scheme of things. So I am going to be supporting, if and when that comes to City Council, an application by the Sandy Hill Community Health Centre for a safe injection site. I'm also open-minded though. The Vancouver model is one that we talk about a lot. There may be other options for Ottawa that work as well or better, and that's a discussion that I'm looking forward to having with my colleagues and with all stakeholders over the coming months. The only other piece in the newsletter that I wanted to draw attention to is that the Hintonburg 5K will likely be rerouted this year. That takes place on July the 10th. Spencer Street will be rebuilt this year, which means that that route is unavailable to the race organizers this year. So I have supporting a proposal by the race organizers to run the street right down historic Wellington Street West here from roughly Bayswater Bayview through until Western Avenue. It would mean a street closure for probably an hour and a half or so on the morning of Sunday, July the 10th, but I personally can't wait to see our Hintonburg 5K runners right here on the main street. As always, if you have questions, concerns, issues that you want to chat about, give my office a call or drop me a line. I do put up a lot of this information on my blog at kitchissippiward.ca. And again, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, I do rely on it as a channel to let people know what's up at 110 Laurier Avenue East. Get signed up today at kitchissippiward.ca. Hope everybody has a great week.